favorite soundbite.
But it's men. I mean, I think the real struggle for the Harris campaign is young men, older men, men of color, white men.
Men, okay? You know, a few years back, maybe 3 years ago, Hillary Clinton went on to one of those late night shows, and she said, you know, I don't think this transgender issue is really, really working. I don't necessarily think that's going to be the best way to win people over. You might actually lose a lot of people. And, you know, and I think at the time they were kind of thinking suburban moms, whatever, that they wouldn't be buying into this. And we did see some of that, right? Remember the backlash against Target? But the real problem, actually, I think, is actually the men. I think that the transgender stuff, the idea of men competing in women's sports, for example, that has actually really alienated a lot of men, including, you know, the thing that happened at Bud Light. I mean, with Dylan Mulvaney and the marketing disaster that was, and yet you got companies that are still doubling down on this woke stuff. I want to show you the latest and greatest from the Victoria's Secret runway. Victoria's Secret has just somehow figured that they're not going to learn from Bud Light's mistakes. And so they are debuting their newest models. And they're not women.
Cool.
So
Sorry.
Hey, what's going on? Who was that?
Oh, sorry, Mary, helping out here.
That wasn't meant to be. But you had the models that aren't actually female, followed by Kamala saying, hey, what's going on? What's going on? We may get in trouble with that because there was some music, so we'll deal with that later. If you are joining us after the fact and you see there's like this brief moment where there's no sound, you'll know why. We just had to take out the music because they have rules about those things. I didn't realize. I had seen the video though, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I mean, and so I go back to the issue of why can't she resonate with men? Kamala Harris has somehow alienated a lot of men because the whole thing has been, you know what, we got to be accepting. We got to be this, that, and the other. We got to do everything we can to welcome in this 0.01% of the population, which I'll tell you, if she gets her way, is going to be even higher, like much, much higher. There's a bit of sound that I wanted to share with you that we're putting on the shorts feed today. If you don't follow my shorts feed, please make sure you do. But I'll tell you, history comes back to haunt this woman because there is this little thing called tape. And I want to show you some tape from 2019. Kamala Harris talking about how she went out of her way. This is in her own words. Kamala Harris went out of her way to do what she could for the transgender population of criminals in prisons in Northern California to ensure that your tax dollars could go to making sure that they got surgeries.
It was an office of a lot of people who would do the work on a daily basis. And do I wish that sometimes they would have personally consulted me before they wrote the things that they wrote? Yes, I do. But the bottom line is the buck stops with me. And I take full responsibility for what my office did. But on that issue, I will tell you, I vehemently disagree and in fact worked behind the scenes to ensure that the Department of Corrections would allow transitioning inmates to receive the medical attention that they required, they needed, and deserve.
And there you have it. 60-40 right now, with the idea being that somehow men are the ones that are not going to vote for her. And you wonder why, right? You wonder why. I think that Hillary Clinton called it right way back when she got in all that trouble and like the trans community went bonkers on her and she was nearly canceled because she dared to say, you know, this is not going to be a winning issue. I mean, Joe at least had the guys, okay? Kamala, you don't have many people.